Welcome to OkState Daily. Casey Porter here, joined by Lee Cothran of Dynasty. Define, Lee, this is the second time I've got a chance to talk to you. So, hey, super glad that you joined, and thank you so much. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, excited to be on with you and to talk a little wrestling here. I think that, that's the backbone of our athletics program. So really want to make sure that the folks know, there's a lot of really good things, exciting things going on with the wrestling program right now, and a lot to talk about.
Okay, so you mentioned the backbone aspect of that. There is no program ever that's been as good as Oklahoma State wrestling. Now, obviously, Penn State is starting to catch up with that as time goes on. But so I say that to ask this question: can Oklahoma State win a national title this year? If they can, what would it take? And if not, what do you think the timeline is to win a national title?
Yeah, well, Penn State still has to win like 27 national championships to catch us. So I think that we're in good shape there. But this year is going to be tough. Penn State is on a different level. They've got a couple of upperclassmen that are pretty unstoppable at this point, and then they've got some underclassmen that have really come along. So if you're looking at it, it's not hard to squint and see them having 6 NCAA finalists, which is just unprecedented. Last year they had all 10 of their guys finish in the top 6, which again just sets scoring records, and it's definitely this year they have a couple of gaps in their lineup at 141 and heavyweight that may not All-American, but that more than makes up with it, with potentially 6 guys finishing in the top 2. But the fortunate thing for Oklahoma State is you don't have to squint too hard to see 5 potential finalists for the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. And
who would they be, in your opinion?
Troy Spratley, Jax Forrest, Sergio Vega, Landon Robidoux, and D. Lockett would be the 5. And you're putting a lot on freshmen there, which is why it's squinting, because it's just they haven't done it before, so that's really the question mark. And then you need to get the rest of the lineup up to a place where they're finishing in the top 6. That's really where the points are scored at the NCAA tournament. So Connor Doucette, Cody Merrill, Alex Facundo, Zach Ryder, they really need to live up to their potential. And then we need to see Casey Swiderski kind of come back into, he's finished in the top 8 before at the NCAA tournament when he was at Iowa State. And we need to see him get back to that level for sure.
Yeah, so is Oklahoma State squarely number 2 right now, you think? I know we lost to Iowa earlier. That was kind of a weird deal. We've dominated Nebraska twice. We're going to see Iowa State Sunday, but is OSU squarely number 2?
So Ohio State would probably be my number 2 right now. They have a top-to-bottom lineup that looks really, really good. The fortunate thing here with 3 programs, and then when you add in Nebraska and Iowa, competing for the top spot, that chips away at Penn State's lead. Yes. So I mentioned 141 pounds is a place where Penn State's pretty weak. Ohio State is extremely strong there. Jesse Mendez is the returning national champion. He's been dominating everybody. It's going to be interesting to see him and Sergio Vega potentially. But the places where they're strong, 197, 184, 133, those are places where they can possibly chip away from Penn State. And we need that. We need more teams to be more competitive, because when the team scores are closer to 120 points, 110 points, rather than 180, which is where Penn State has been, then the chances of surprises happening are much higher. And so we definitely like seeing Ohio State competitive again, and they're going to continue to be competitive. They recruit extremely well. Tom Ryan's a really good coach.
Talk about recruiting very well. Anything that the freshmen this year, you talk about, a Cody Merrill, a Jax Forrest, guys like that have just been fantastic from the get-go. Anything take us through the freshmen and anything they've done that has surprised you.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest surprise to me with all of the Oklahoma State freshmen is how good they are in folk style. So typically when you get these kind of top tier recruits that come in, they're really, really ranked on freestyle wrestling, which is a different, style. It's more international. It's what they wrestle at age group level, world championships. And these guys have all been elite at freestyle.
Can you explain the difference for novice fans like me?
Sure. So freestyle and folk style, the primary differences are going to be mat wrestling. So when we talk about guys being on top, guys being on bottom, getting out from on bottom, that kind of wrestling really only takes place in folk style. In freestyle, you are on your feet more. So it's more about getting takedowns. It's not so much mat wrestling. There's not a ton there. If you're not able to turn your guy over within 5 to 10 seconds, they stop action and put you back on your feet, and you go from there in freestyle. So those are the primary differences. Freestyle matches are a lot quicker because of that. So you can sit down to a freestyle event. If we had a duel, say, like they were going to have between Team USA and Team Iran at the Battle of the Ballpark a couple of years ago, that would have been a much faster experience with 10 weight classes. It probably would have been 45 minutes tops. So it's a more fast-paced style of wrestling. It's a more on your feet, more about scoring points from your feet. And that's what's been surprising about these freshmen, is that they've been so good at scoring from the mat. You see D. Lockett get out from underneath his opponents extremely fast, and he's going up against third, fourth, fifth year guys that are really strong opponents on the mat, and he's been able to get away from them very easily.
I've had the question asked, is he aggressive enough?
He's definitely aggressive enough.
Okay.
The style is a little bit different when you're comparing him to Landon Robidoux, when you're comparing him to Sergio Vega, and they're a bit more offensive in the way that they go about their scoring points. You just have a different style with D. Lockett and Cody Merrill. They're more of that classic Oklahoma State style, where you see them more careful about their shot selection.
Can't score on them.
They're extremely good defensively, and when they need to score points, they're able to. Especially D. Lockett, you'll see him start to open up more as his career progresses. He's extremely good at double legs, and he's fast. So you'll see them open up more. It's just a matter of them getting their fields in right now, and I think that they're both aggressive enough to be extremely good and high placers. It just may not necessarily prove out in match to match. It doesn't look as exciting as Robidoux and Vega for sure, or Jax Forrest for sure. Those guys are different level offensively.
So is that a cradle that Jax Forrest keeps pinning people with? I mean, I being a novice, it looks like a cradle to me. Is that what he's working?
That's what he did in the OU duel. So that's what he hit. That's what he's looking for. His length is a real advantage for him at 133 pounds. He's about 5'7" or so. And most 133 pounders are a little bit shorter, a little bit stockier. So his length is really helping him go and get into those positions to where he can lock up those cradles and turn guys over. And then he's just an aggressive wrestler. He's been showing this for his entire career, really. Starting back when he first started to hear his name, he was being coached by former Oklahoma State finalist Josh Kindig, and he was making his name by beating guys who were 3-4 years older than him and dominating along the way. And then he just kept getting better and better to his number one ranking in his recruiting class. And he's just he's a really special wrestler, and we're really lucky that we're going to get 3.5 years of him representing the Cowboys. So
just kind of from the outside looking in, the difference between Coach Smith, legendary Coach Smith, and then Coach Taylor, would it be maybe that, once a wrestler has the lead and probably is going to win the match, Coach Taylor is a little bit more aggressive in getting them like to a near fall to continue to score and to continue to be aggressive, whereas Coach Smith was more like, just win the match and let's move the ball down the line. Would that be accurate at all?
No, Coach Smith was definitely a go score as many. He wanted to dominate. And there are plenty of stories. You can go back and listen to interviews I've done with multiple former All-Americans and national champions and people who we talk about as legends at Oklahoma State. You can hear them talk about times that they didn't dominate and they had to run extra stairs or they had to do extra in the room because Coach Smith wasn't satisfied with them just winning 3-1, So that's not necessarily a correct assessment. It's just in the last 10 years, it seemed like we were just kind of lucky to have guys that would go out and win.
Okay.
So then they would park the bus and do that.
Yeah.
But you would definitely see on the sideline Coach Smith being fired up and not too thrilled with the performance in a lot of instances. Coach Taylor is definitely just go score points. He wants guys on their feet. He wants them going and scoring points.
Yes.
And that really is going to help with these guys going on and becoming world and Olympic champions because they're wrestling so much from their feet. As I mentioned earlier, that's what freestyle is all about. So you're going to see a lot of them getting cut, and they are cutting guys and going and getting more takedowns to try to get that tech fall. Just separate the team score a little bit too. But they both are ultimate competitors and wanted to dominate no matter what. Yeah. So I think that's something that's playing out, and he's getting the athletes that can do that as well.
Talk about the role that Coach Smith played in moving to the next step for Oklahoma State wrestling.
Yeah, well, I definitely, it wasn't the cleanest situation just because of the whole Coleman Scott storyline that played there. He moved from a head coaching role at North Carolina to come be the associate head coach at Oklahoma State in 1 year, and then Coach Smith retires, and it just felt like that was the transition. And then they go out and get David Taylor. So there's kind of some mess in there.
Okay.
But it worked out for the best because, David Taylor is a superstar in the sport. He's a guy that kids idolize and look up to, and that's kind of what you need. You have that. If you go look at the best of the best coaches, you had John Smith, Cale Sanderson, Dan Gable, Myron Roderick. It's just, if you go down the list, it was guys who were elite athletes, have been the best coaches. So that's what Chad Weiberg decided to do. And fortunately, he made contact and made the hire. Yes. And so as far as Coach Smith, he's still around. He's still in Stillwater. He's coaching. He's volunteering coaching the women's team now. So the guy is still going to be there. I'm sure he's still going in the room. I'm sure he's got an open invite to be around. So it doesn't hurt. And then he's been helpful in getting Coach Taylor to know that your opposing coaches aren't your friends. They're always going to be looking to get one over on Oklahoma State.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's administrative stuff that needed to be learned, and Coach Smith has been very instrumental in that.
Let's talk about this year's team, some of the duels. Let's back out to Mizzou last weekend. I'm not going to lie, just watching that duel, after about the fourth match, I was kind of bored because OSU was just dominating so much. Yeah. It was kind of cool to watch Teague Travis again. Robideau took care of him, but talk about the duel there with Mizzou.
Yeah, it's the Missouri duel. We need Missouri to be good. Like I mentioned earlier, it's better when the tide is risen. So we need Missouri and Iowa State and West Virginia and OU to be good at wrestling. Not good enough to beat us.
Yes, right.
But better. And so, although it never hurts to see OU kind of wandering the desert.
No doubt.
But it's in both these last couple duels against Oklahoma and Missouri, Yeah, I mean, you see significant separation from Oklahoma State and their competitors. You see that, the Cowboys are able to just go out and execute. They're able to pretty much impose their will on their opponents. And if they're not able to, they're able to at least defend at a high enough level to win matches, which we saw at 174 pounds. Cam Steed, who's a Collinsville native and somebody that we would have loved to have had at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
He is a very, very good wrestler. He's an All-American. And Alex Fagundo was able to make a couple of key moves in that match to just make sure he came away with a win, 2-1. So it's good to see that. 184 pounds, their wrestler is really good. I thought that Zach Ryder actually wrestled a pretty good match there, in spite of losing. He was able to keep within striking distance. He was able to work some of his offense, which is something that he's struggled with. He's kind of got one go-to with his underhook. So he'll, work his underhook and then try to work his offense from there. And he'll, the book's kind of out on him. So I think that that's been kind of frustrating for him, but he was able to keep a really close match with the Aiden Sinclair, the 184-pounder there at Missouri. And ultimately, I don't know what else you really take from that duel. It was just a dominant performance by the Cowboys.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Absolutely was. Okay, so it will not be that way this weekend. UNI, very good wrestling program. Iowa State, as you said, totally legit. So it's going to be a great weekend of wrestling. So take us through the probables and some of the positions and weights that Oklahoma State might be vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean, it probably is going to be a lot of the same with Northern Iowa. They're in a bit of a rebuild year after the last couple of seasons that they've had with the national champion and Parker Keckeisen and some guys that have looked really good. One of their best wrestlers is their 165-pounder, Ryder Downey. He's up from 157 pounds, and he's had a bit of an up-and-down season at 165 pounds. However, he is definitely a threat to D. Lockett here. So, he's a strong wrestler. He's somebody that is really technical, which is what you're going to see from Northern Iowa regardless. But I think that for D. Lockett, he needs to be a bit more aggressive, as pointed out earlier, work his offense a little bit more, and rely on his speed to finish takedowns and get to a place where he's separating the score with guys like Ryder Downey, because if you let him hang around late, Downey is definitely capable of going and getting a takedown. You also have 174 pounds here. Jared Sima is a really high-quality opponent for Alex Facundo. UNI is always going to be pretty good in the upper weights, so you definitely want to keep an eye on it and have a good thing there, or have a good game plan against these guys. But for the Cowboys, it's probably going to be another 9-1 duel.
Yeah. Okay, very good. And then Iowa State Sunday will probably not be that. That'll be very competitive, right?
Iowa State, extremely competitive. This is going to be one of the most competitive duels of the season across college wrestling. I mean, we talked about Penn State and Ohio State. They wrestle here in a couple of weeks. That's the next most competitive duel that we'll see. Every single wrestler is ranked in the top 13. So we have a really, really good, according to Flow, and it's just a great matchup here between these two teams. From 125 pounds on, you've got returning All-American who transferred to Iowa State from Northern Colorado there, and Steve O'Poulin at 125 pounds for the Cyclones. Spratley is 1-0 against him. They wrestled last year at the Big 12 tournament, and Spratley won 2-1. So it's a really close matchup between those two, and they have history going back to their childhood. They wrestled in New York together. So there's a really lot of data out there on these two, a lot of opportunities. It's going to be a close one, and it's probably going to be like depending on their takedown situation, it's probably going to be like a 4-1, 4-2 duel or matchup in that case. Evan Frost is number 5 in the country at 133 pounds. This is going to be Jax Forrest's biggest test of the year until the NCAA tournament. So this is a guy that is an All-American. He's been wrestling at a really high level. He's been really, really good for the Cyclones, especially coming off of an injury from last season. And Jax was wrestling in high school a month ago. So I think that we just need to keep perspective there that this is a really interesting matchup. And if Forrest goes out and does what he did against OU in Missouri, which the Missouri wrestler is a really high-quality wrestler, Gage Walker, if he goes out and does that against Evan Frost, then legitimately Jax Forrest is a championship contender. If he struggles, then some question marks arise. If he loses, then some question marks arise on, should he keep the red shirt on? Should he develop some more? What should we do? Because he still has that opportunity to redshirt.
Sure.
141 pounds. Anthony Echemendia for the Cyclones is a grown man. I think he is from Cuba. So it's kind of like in baseball. You wonder what kind of birth certificate does this guy have? I think he's on his second wife. So this is an interesting matchup for Sergio Vega. It's another grown man versus a true freshman. However, Sergio Vega has gone out and shown twice now against Brock Hardy, who's a grown man, national finalist, all the accolades, that he can compete at the highest level and beat guys like Anthony Echemendia. So he should be able to do that. Casey Swiderski was at Iowa State until this year. So he's transferred in. He's going to be taking on Jacob Frost, who's an All-American. So that's going to be a big matchup. I mean, just every single one of these is really high level. The one place that I think you can confidently say that Oklahoma State is going to have to wrestle above their heads to pick up wins is at 197 pounds. Cody Merrill is going to be taking on Rocky Elam. Rocky was at Missouri. He's a 3-time All-American, extremely good wrestler. He's number 2 in the country right now. And so that's going to be an interesting matchup. They're both very defensive wrestlers. So this could be a 2-1 sudden victory tiebreakers type of matchup between these two. So if Merrill is able to get any offense going, this is the time. It's going to be I expect that one to be a very tactical match, though. Merrill's strength is really going to be a big question mark here against Elam. Elam is a 6th-year guy, and it could be a really good one. And then at heavyweight, you've got Younger Bastida versus Connor Doucette. Bastida is number 1 in the country. He's looked really good up to this point of the season. There's always a question mark with Bastida, though. He's also Cuban, and he always kind of gets into these funks where he'll drop a weird match or he'll wrestle weird or he'll do something dumb that gets him into bad positions. Connor Doucette's a smart wrestler.
Yes.
He's able to put himself into positions to win those types of matches. A lot of people are picking Bastida to score bonus points in this one, including it doesn't happen. Connor Doucette doesn't give up bonus points. Connor Doucette's very good on his feet, very good at defense. He'll give up a dumb takedown every now and then, but at the end of the day, I think this is going to be a really interesting toss-up match between these two. And I think that we learn a lot about Connor Doucette in this match as well. We learned against AJ Ferrari in the first Nebraska duel. We saw him. It went how you expected it to go. Ferrari's really good on top, so Connor struggled there and gave up riding time and lost a point, right? This one, I think we're going to see a lot more of how is Connor on his feet? How is he at defending on his feet? How is he at keeping a very aggressive wrestler away from his legs, and then also leveraging that momentum to get go behinds, to kind of learn what he may have learned from Wyatt Hendrickson. Yeah. So that's an interesting matchup for sure as well. So I would definitely keep an eye on those that I mentioned. The middleweights a little bit less interesting, but again, every single wrestler is ranked in the top 13. So there's no bad matchup here.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about the young wrestlers like a Cody Rutledge, a Cody Merrill, a Jax Forrest, those kind of guys. Does Oklahoma State have the best young wrestlers in the country, do you think?
Penn State's still right there. They've got a young man named Marcus Blaze who's wrestling at 133 pounds, who is a world beater. He's a world champion. He made the senior level world team at 61 kilos, which is about 141 pounds. They cut him down to 133. So he's every bit as good as Jax Forrest and every bit as exciting as a prospect. At 157, they've got PJ Duke, made a senior level world team, is a freshman, is one of those guys that's really exciting as well. So it's really hard to say that Penn State is going anywhere. Oklahoma State's going to have to catch Penn State. Yes. Is ultimately what's going to have to happen here. I think for a volume perspective, Oklahoma State does have the most freshmen that are really exciting to watch and keep an eye on and to be excited about here over the next 2 years.
Does Oklahoma State have the best recruiting class? Can you talk about them a little bit?
Yeah, so coming into this next season, they do have the number one recruiting class. They have a couple of guys out of Kentucky, the Rainey twins, that are both very physical, very impressive wrestlers at middleweights. I think one wrestles around 141 pounds. The other wrestles around 157 pounds. They've got Drayshawn Ross coming in, who is a 3-time state champion in Iowa. And he just in a tournament in Iowa this past weekend, he teched and pinned the number 2 and number 4 wrestlers in Iowa and didn't wrestle past the first period. So he's a heavyweight prospect that now that he's committed to foot wrestling, there's a lot to be really excited about with him. He was a 3-star football recruit as well. So that he chose wrestling over football says a lot. And that he's a 6'5", 260 pound monster. So he's a guy that is going to be really, really exciting to watch. Probably will go as a true freshman unless Oklahoma State gets a transfer at heavyweight, which is typically good for upper weights to go get a transfer that can fill in and let guys redshirt because it takes some adjustment. But Ross is one that may not need that. So it's going to be really fun to watch him. And then there's a young man that's really coming along at 125 pounds, Rockland Zinklin out of California, who is starting to win some national level tournaments, starting to really get his name on the map. He's been committed to the Pokes for a while. The Zinklin family has a long history with the Guerrero family. So they're California wrestling royalty, and it's a big deal for us to get Zinklin into the program and to get him to potentially be a career 125-pounder for us after Troy Spratley graduates. So that'll be really nice to have. Those are hard to find. No. So, really exciting recruiting class, and some. I'm sure I'm forgetting some too. Some of the guys that are coming in. I don't have it pulled up. Kind of going off the top of my head here, but there's a lot to be excited about. And you asked earlier, how long before we can start talking about number 35, number 36, stacking up those national type championships, adding to the banners in Gallagher. I think that realistically, you're looking at, again, this year you don't have to squint too hard to see it. But starting in 2028 is really the time when you should be expecting Oklahoma State to be winning national championships. You're going to have all these freshmen that are going to be juniors. You're going to be able to fill in recruiting classes with guys like Ross. Guys like Ryder will develop more. He'll be a junior. Merrill will develop more. He'll be a junior, so it's going to be a really interesting 3 or 4 years here for the Cowboys.
Lee Cothran, this is always a pleasure to get to catch up with you and get to listen to you talk Oklahoma State wrestling. I always learn a lot whenever you come on the show. So any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, like I said, it's the backbone of the athletic program. So if you are around Stillwater or Oklahoma City, Tulsa, make sure to go out and support the Cowboys. And they're filling up the arena. So
yes.
Tickets are a little bit more expensive than they used to be. And I understand that. But if you listen to Dynasty Defined, go follow us. We're always doing a giveaway for tickets because I live too far away to go to every duel. But, it's important to get there and to support the guys and to be a loud voice in the arena for them. They really feed off the energy. So it's going to be a really fun thing. So make sure to check us out and to go support the Cowboys, root them on.
You mentioned Dynasty Defined. Let all the Oklahoma State fans know how they can find you.
Yeah, so it's just on whatever you listen to podcast on. Dayton Fix and I co-host the podcast together, so we will get on and talk about.
When's the next one coming out?
Hopefully tonight.
Okay.
I've got to get it recorded, but we have. I've got a four-time NCAA finalist and a world silver medalist on there talking through technical things with me. He's in the room, he coaches, and he's still competing for world teams. So make sure, Dayton is going to, if you're trying to learn about wrestling, then we'll definitely get you there and listening to Dayton talk about it. But you can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. It's just Dynasty Defined Podcast. We're on TikTok, Instagram. We're posting a lot more there. And then Twitter, just at Dynasty Defined.
Outstanding. Lee Cothran, thank you so much.
Thank you.